Hi. First off, my name is Keiko Endo, and Matt, thank you for your presentation. It was very exciting because I also majored in aerospace engineering, and I totally agree with Matt that although my degree or my diploma says aerospace engineering, it's a hybrid of mechanical and aero. And then for mechanical, I did finite element analysis. So anyways, I am so honored to be here today, and thank you, Joanne and Pretty, for inviting me to speak to the Engineering 5 class. And I'm excited to share my own story with you and hope to inspire some of your engineering journeys. So today, in this talk, I will share my personal journey from career to engineering, including my setbacks. And then I will offer my perspective on engineering education and some career tips that I found it helpful. And I attended, as Joanne mentioned, I attended Cabrillo from 1994 to 1995 for 2 years. Oh my gosh, I'm getting old. Okay, so I first like to start from this phrase, connecting the dots. So on June 12, 2005, Apple's founder, Steve Jobs, he delivered a famous speech at Stanford's commencement ceremony. And one part that particularly resonated with me is his story about connecting the dots. So when he looked back, what seemed to be a series of unfortunate events all connected and paved his path. So I found this to be true in my own journey as well. And moments of uncertainty later became stepping stones to where I am today. The personal journey into engineering. I was born and raised in Japan, Tokyo, Japan. This is the picture that I personally took, a picture of Mount Fuji. And then you can see it has Mount Fuji has a reflection on the lake in front of
No.
it.
Because
Yes.
I could only see the first slide still.
Oh,
So
oh,
let's
oh,
see.
oh. Is it lagging?
Maybe. Maybe.
Hmm.
I just see the
No,
slide that says Dear Engineering 5 students.
Oh
I think
no,
it just
really?
has an
Frozen.
advance. I think it's not in slideshow mode, so you'll have to go to the left side and
I
move down on your
see.
slides.
Let me see. Okay. So I'm gonna share in a different way. It is in slideshow
There it
mode.
is. There it
Okay.
went.
Okay. So
All right.
so
So
I'm not, okay. I'm
why don't
gonna
you just
stop.
go through them because I'd like to see what the first
Yes,
ones were.
sure. So I'm gonna just not put into play mode, but I'll just go one by one. Okay. So personal journey into engineering, engineering education and career tips. And then my intro, I just wanted to say thank you, Joanne Pretty, for having me here. And then this is the part that I mentioned, connecting the dots. And this is a presentation or a speech, a famous speech done by Steve Jobs to Stanford's graduates. Then personal journey into engineering. And this is the picture of Mount Fuji and the reflection on the lake. And it's known that if you can take a picture of Mount Fuji reflection on the lake, it's good luck. And so I was born and kind of raised in Tokyo, Japan. But when I was 4 years old, I moved to Detroit, Michigan because of my father's assignment. So he was a nuclear physicist and was assigned to Enrico Fermi Nuclear Generation Station near Lake Erie in Michigan. This was in the 70s. That's my dad walking around in the control room. You can see all these cool obsolete machineries in the control room. And then this was my first time in the Western, like a country. And then this is my first encounter with the Santa Claus, and you can tell I was horrified. And But nonetheless, I had a very good experience, learned English, and then just had a blast, and attended elementary school, grade school, in Michigan. Then I returned to Japan for high school, I'm sorry, junior high school and high school education, and came my first setback. So in Japan, there's this entrance examination to all high schools. It's like SAT, but you have to take specific exams to get into specific school. And then there was this like science-oriented high school that my brother went. He's a mechanical engineer, but I couldn't get into that. I couldn't pass the exam. And then I did play the piano, not that great, not that serious, but because of some dumb luck, I got into this music high school. So couldn't get into this really nice scientific high school, but I ended up in a music high school. But it was some kind of a dumb luck getting in there. I became a music major dropout and had to give up that path. And then I thought, okay, I like animals, so I want to become a vet. So I went to Oregon State University, which has a pretty good reputation of veterinary medicine school. But I underestimated it, and I also dropped out of the vet program. And then my counselor back then said, "Oh, I can't make it in this vet program." And then he goes, "Well, do you like math?" And I said, "I love math." And then he said, "Then why don't you go into computer science?" And then I said, "Okay," because he said, if you want to get into biology, if you want to get into medicine or medical or any field, from now on, they're gonna need computer science, even business, whatever. Computer science, it's like a Swiss Army knife. And so I did. And then I earned a computer science degree without the internet. So you can trust me. And I plan to wear this t-shirt at my retirement party, but I can't retire for some time because my two daughters are still in high school. Then what happened was, okay, so computer science is a science that's made by human. So there are like flaws and mistakes and bugs. And I was really fascinated by natural science, like physics, chemistry, and so forth. And then my dad being a nuclear physicist, my brother, mechanical engineer, and also my roommate at Oregon State was a mechanical engineer whom I still keep in touch with. And so I had this thirst for natural science. And that's when I started to attend Cabrillo College in 1994. And this is a real Chem 2 notes that I took at Cabrillo from 1994. And I was so fascinated because back then, Roderick Oka, I'm not sure if he still teaches there, but Roderick was our instructor. He was amazing, if not as amazing as Joanne. But he explained polar head. The soap has a polar head and a non-polar tail, and the grease is non-polar. So all the tails get attracted to grease. The soap's non-polar tail gets attracted to grease, and then water is polar, so it carries, the soap carries the grease off your hands when you wash your hands. And I thought that is fascinating. And yes, this is natural science. So then I transferred to San Jose State. And Matt, I think you really know about this, but my fourth major, raised to the power of 2 setback, was I couldn't work in the aerospace industry because I did not have the citizenship, US citizenship. And so I did get US citizenship later, but meanwhile, I went back to computer science. And then I'm like, oh my, I was devastated because all this work to get a master's degree in aerospace engineering, and then I can't really use it. What's up with that? And then went back to computer science, but that landed me a job at Apple, which was the best thing that ever happened to me. Well, not the best, but one of the best things. And so aerospace engineering, and but I don't like regret a bit. If I have to do it all over again, I'll do the same thing because I love natural science. I love, mechanical engineering, aerospace engineering, and the time that I spent at San Jose State. I'm sorry, I meant to say San Jose State and Cabrillo College. It's just really precious, a precious memory to me. And then the next, I like to go into engineering education and career tips for building your foundation. I'm not sure if I can play and you can see it or not. If you cannot, let me know. Are you still on the builder foundation slide or not? Okay, and then if I do
Yes,
like
we
that,
are.
okay, did you see college algebra come down
Yeah.
as
No,
animation? No,
no, I
okay.
did not see an animation.
Okay, got it. Then I will go back to, I will get out of this. And so what I wanted to, it had a little bit of a animation here, but my recommendation, and which I did at Cabrillo, I built my foundation. It's same for chemistry, physics, math, static, whatever. It is super important to build your foundation from college algebra, pre-cal, and trig, Math 5A, 5B, 5C, they are super important. Linear algebra and differential equations, DiffQ. And then once you have built this foundation, you're ready to take college classes like numerical analysis, applied linear algebra, partial differential equations, and mathematical modeling, and so on. There are like so much more. But I highly recommend that this green part becomes your muscle memory.
Hmm.
And then as for career tips, I think it's really important to keep learning. After you graduate, there are a lot of programs that perhaps your company offers. And then also online courses like Coursera and online courses from various universities. But a cutting edge technology today could be completely obsolete next year. So I think it's very important to keep learning and also strengthen your soft skill sets. So that is like in a meeting, make sure you can clearly communicate what you're trying to convey, presentation skills. And then one thing is to your client, you have to, many times you have to say no to your client, but just not saying no, you want them to say no. So you have to convince them, okay, this is why you don't want to do this. And then, so they said, and they think about it and say, yeah, you're right. I don't want to do that. And so, soft skill sets like that, I think it's super important as well. And then, lastly, I'm going to go back to my setbacks. So, in conclusion, my first setback, not being able to get into the high school I really wanted to attend, and I became a music major dropout. But I met like really, really, precious people. Like her name is Yoko here and Akiko here. They're both pianists, and when I go back to Japan, I get to go to their recitals. I met them when I was 16, and we still keep in touch. I'm gonna travel to Japan later this month. I'll get together with them when I go home or go back to Japan. And then they just enrich my life just beyond belief. So that was the really great thing that came out of my first and second setbacks. And then I am a vet program dropout, but that led me into computer science. And then that allowed me to really land a job at Apple. And then who knew? Now, internet is really like involves satellites. And so I did study like orbital mechanics. I did do an intern at Lockheed Martin, although I couldn't become a full-time employee because I didn't have citizenship back then. But now different disciplines are getting together. And so who knew? Um, all these setbacks became my stepping stones and led me to here. And then, so that's why I love this phrase, connecting the dots. Thank you.
So Keiko, could you tell us a
Yes.
little bit about projects that you've worked on? So have you been at Apple the whole time?
No, I actually started as a um, programmer or a software engineer, and then also utilizing my background in Japan, and then like a Japanese Asian language, and then English. I modified source code that only worked in
Oh,
English operating systems back then. Now, if there's Unicode, and then everything works flawlessly, but back then you have to recode so that it will work on different platforms. So that's how I started my computer science career. And then went into like international, so that's called internationalization, modifying code so that it will run on different platforms.
wow.
And then there's this product. I was at a startup company called Uniscape back then. And then Uniscape had this product called World Server, which is to localize localize like a content in English into various languages. So I'm not sure if you saw a this launch that was delivered on Monday for the new for the
Oh,
iPhone and things like that. But anyways, so that content material for marketing, sales, training, and so forth, they're all localized, translated into different languages because we send our products all over the world, and it was translated into 141 languages. And so that world server is being used, and then I was pulled into Apple to migrate a vendor system that's at the vendors or the company that I used to be data center to Apple's data center, a lift and shift migration. So that's how I joined Apple. That was 14 years ago. So yes, I worked at different companies, but it's those that's pretty much the highlight of my path.
yeah. It sounds really interesting. And because you had the language, and there are students in the Engineering 5 class that know different languages too, it's
Mhm.
another advantage for you that sets you out among your peers who may only know English. So that's really awesome.
Thank you. And then also I want to mention that at San Jose State, I had this for my thesis, my advisor, Kevin Sawyer, that's his, Dr. Kevin is Sawyer is his name. But I ran into him at Apple. He specialized in lenses and then at iPhone lenses. And then I just ran into him and was like, oh my gosh, Kevin, what are you doing here? And so it's not just a software company, but it has environmental engineering. It's like it has pretty much, different disciplines. So it's kind of nice that you can apply to different divisions or organizations within the company.
Yeah. One of the students asked a question when Matt was speaking about the difference between small and large companies, and you're both working at large companies. And Keiko, what you're mentioning is when somebody thinks of Apple, they think, oh, they hire computer engineers and programmers, but they're hiring, just like you said, many different types of engineers because there's so many different divisions. And
Exactly.
that's the same thing with Boeing. And I
Hmm.
mentioned also in the chat in answering the question that one of our classes in Engineering 5 is devoted to engineering industry and employment and professionalism. And our teacher, Arlene, has worked, as her degree is in mechanical engineering, and she's worked for many different companies in the Bay Area, and some are small, some are the large. And she'll be able to share that experience with you, what the advantages are of both. Um,
Hmm.
and then it looks like somebody wrote in the chat, Kellen, is that how you pronounce it? Kellen? My wife is actually, well, why don't you read it? Tochiki, is that how you pronounce it? I'm sorry, I don't know.
Tochigi, yes, it's Kellen as well.
Oh, Kellen, why don't you explain it?
Oh yeah, so actually my wife is from Japan. She just immigrated here with me after I lived there for the last 4 years. So do you know where specifically you were in Tokyo when you were a little kid?
Yes, so Komae is it's close to Kanagawa Prefecture, but it's within Tokyo, but it's a residential area, probably about 20 minutes on Odakyu line from Shinjuku.
Okay, it sounds familiar, but
Uh-huh.
I can't see the exact location in my head, but
Yeah.
Where did you stay? Where did you live over
uh,
there?
Tochigi.
Tochigi.
Yeah,
Okay, Kanto area. Got
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Cool. So we still have
Cool.
a little bit more time. Other questions? Matt, you might even want to ask Keiko a question.
Yeah, if there
Or
are
Cliffy.
questions from the class, you have the option to unmute, or you could type it into the chat and we could read it out. So, and Matt is still here, so you could ask Matt or Keiko any questions.
Okay, so Christopher said, what skills do you think are most important for an engineer? Keiko, you want to start?
Okay. Really what you learn at Cabrillo, physics, math, chemistry, and then statics, all the classes that's necessary for engineering associate degree. I think those are the really the tools that you will heavily use after you transfer.
And Matt?
Yeah, I think I agree 100%. And the real thing is you're learning specific subjects, but you're learning how to solve problems. There's a process to that, to make sure that you're going through the necessary steps. And sometimes it seems a little bit like you have the solution. It's like, oh, that's easy. We'll just do this. But there's a process that you have to work through as an engineer in order to make sure that you're addressing all of the issues and all of the things and make things come together. So having those fundamentals, learning how to solve those problems really sets you up really well for solving other types of problems in industry, in my opinion.
All right, and Samuel asks, is it beneficial to go beyond a bachelor's degree?
Think so. I never did PhD, only up to master's degree, but I don't know. Like it depends on what you want to do. A lot of companies will really value the time that you spent in the real industry and with the real work. They really value that. And so it depends on like the major as well. But I don't, regret getting a master's degree. But what do you think, Matt? I really think that real experience is
Yeah.
what is valued, and you can always go back to masters or beyond. You can enter a company first,
Yeah.
join a company, and then go back
Yeah,
if you
that's
see
exactly
the
what I did.
need. Mhm.
Yeah. I went in, Boeing paid for, big companies, especially, they'll pay for your education. 10 years after, I think, graduating from my undergrad, I started doing my master's program. I gotta be honest, I didn't see any changes in my career at Boeing for that. I didn't get a raise. I didn't get anything because I was already kind of leveled up pretty high by that point. I did it for myself, and I did it in case, maybe one day I want to go teach or do something different, or I just didn't want. I want to make sure those opportunities were still there, and that's the reason I did it.
Yeah.
But most of the time, it's time in industry. I think is as far as what companies are looking at. That may be totally different for a small company or startup, but that's what my experience is.
And your comments really go to the next question. So Zaid says, did you guys get into internships? And if so, what type?
Yes. So I'll go first. So I did have an internship at Lockheed Martin in the aerospace industry, and then they gave me a project, and that became it was about the next generation space telescope that I analyzed from a finite element analysis perspective, and then that was a great experience, and that became my thesis to graduate. Mhm.
And Matt?
I did not do an internship, but I wish I did. Um, you know, I meet with a lot of interns. We do paid internships. They pay them pretty well. And they from the response that I get from them, their experience is really great. And it's just such an awesome thing that you can do if you know, if you have the opportunity to do it. Especially when you start looking for different jobs after you graduate, you have that one more data point of what to expect.
Yeah. And you get to see from internships, you get to see what kinds of companies you like to work for or don't, and the type of work that you enjoy and don't. And with the skills you're going to receive through the engineering classes at Cabrillo, you could get an internship. So look at Priti, maybe I think you're having Christina and Lauren come to the engineering education class, but you
Yes.
guys should look at the engineering department website. And there's on the left-hand side, it says internships and scholarships, and go to that page. And it talks about all the different skills that you get from each one of the engineering classes. And it tells you which classes give you the most skills for each engineering field. And Matt, I would say that the work you were doing for Jamie would be considered an internship. It may
Yeah,
not be
that's true.
like, yeah,
I wasn't thinking about it as a formalized internship. That
yes,
was a really great opportunity. I've actually taken some of those skills, you know, and done other projects outside of Boeing using those skills. And so yeah, I technically I did have an internship, and I had a lot of a lot of good time doing that. And that would have been a great thing, you know, as far as putting that on my list of experiences. So
yeah. Okay, there are 3 more questions. I'm going to take the middle one first. What places should one be around to find mentors and find the right people to get the best jobs? You really want to be connecting with engineers, and because Cabrillo's program's been around for more than 60 years now, we could connect you with many engineers, alums, and I'll be doing that when I come back in the spring. So, one, I could come and see me during office hours, and I can connect you to an alumni who's in the field or at the company that you're interested in. How Jackson asked, how difficult is it to get an internship? It's not that difficult. And again, I'll work with you in the spring. And then Juan, just for the last question, let me have you two answer this. What are some shortcuts you suggest for school or workplace without cutting yourself short? Maybe Juan, you could ask us what it is that you're interested in. Is it, what kind of shortcut do you mean? Like how to get through school faster, or what is it that you're thinking about? So Juan, why don't you unmute yourself and describe it?
Yeah, I guess I'm not so exactly sure. I just wanted to know like maybe some that they would suggest. That's why I put work or school that they suggest for shortcuts. I mean, I'm always trying to do like the minimal amount of work just to get past stuff. So I mean, I know
Right.
sometimes I look back and look at things and say like, oh, I probably didn't have to do that. Maybe I could have just skipped it or done this instead, and it provides the thing I went off and did and added extra time.
Okay, so you're saying in the past, sometimes you did things that you felt like in the end weren't worth it. So you're trying to make sure that you don't do that in the future. So Keiko and Matt, do you think there are shortcuts? I think we would
My
probably all say no.
Yes, my instinct tells me nothing goes to waste. Like my presentation, I majored in music. I went into vet program, and then but I don't think that I shouldn't have done that for some reason because it became my stepping stones. And then along the way met fabulous people, and then all the experience that you gain will really enrich your life. So that said, like you know, and then so if you want to, for example, travel for a year, forget about work if you can afford that. That's also a wonderful, you know, experience. So if you ask me, no shortcuts.